Hey guys, what is going on? Troy at Mountain Man Treasure here. Thanks for tuning in today. Just a short one, but I think something that can be very helpful for both new and old sellers. We're going to talk about what do you do when you get that negative feedback that you just plain don't deserve. Okay, so a little reseller 101 here. I think we're going back to basics a little bit. So for the seasoned sellers, maybe this isn't one for you, but I'd like to try and go back because I think sometimes when we're doing YouTube stuff, we end up talking to people that are at our level, right? We're talking to people in our heads that know what we know, that have seen what we've seen, and have learned what we learned. And that's just not the case. There's new sellers, new resellers, new people researching all the time. And so I'm trying to be intentional about going back and talking about things that maybe are basic to some folks, but for some folks, they're still learning. And also, yes, I'm doing it without a hat and now without hair. Actually, there's a little bit of fuzz going on up here right now. It's been a couple days. It actually grows back really, really fast. So I got to shave this thing every day. We're not decided if we're going to keep this thing yet. We did this when we hit 1,000 subs. Did it live. You can go back and watch that thing if you really want to. Still trying to decide if we're going to keep it or not. I kind of like it. I think maybe. What do you guys think? I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So that's why no hat, and I wanted to let you see that I followed through. We did this thing. So we're talking today about getting negative feedback removed. Now, the first thing that I want to point out is that sometimes negative feedback is deserved, right? Whether we made a mistake or somebody else did something wrong, every once in a while, there's a reason that it's there. But very often, I think we get feedback that we don't deserve. And there are ways you can go about that. And I wanted to talk about how you do that. And interestingly, I think sometimes you can tell, sometimes even before they buy, the questions that they're asking, they're nitpicking stuff. You get a bit of a gut feeling about, you know what, I think this is going to be a problem buyer. And I had a case recently, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to show you screenshots of our conversation, and then I'm going to show you screenshots of my conversation with eBay because I want to be transparent about how this thing happened. So let me walk you back through. Just walk you back through the story here. What happened is, along with all the other orders I got, I shipped this one out. This was a lot of 3 Star Trek movies, Blu-ray discs. I lotted them all up, so all 3 of the new Star Trek movies were in one set. Somebody had an instant collection of all 3 of the relaunched, rebooted movies. And it sold, and honestly, I don't even remember what it sold for. It wasn't very much. But I packed it and shipped it next day, like I do with all of my stuff. It's all next business day stuff. Now, this was on, I believe it was a Thursday, so I shipped it on a Friday. And so it did have a weekend right away in there that it was probably not moving anywhere. But it was going to, I think it was Battle Creek, Michigan. It was in Michigan. I think it was Battle Creek. Michigan having lots of problems with the pandemic right now. And I haven't had too much trouble with my stuff being slowed down, but in some areas of the country, things are being slowed down. I have had a couple of buyers say, hey, I haven't received my item yet. I've messaged them back saying, you know what, here's what the tracking says. Things are sometimes a little bit slow right now. Let me know if you don't get it. And they've all gotten it. It's just been a couple days late every once in a while. So this message came in up here. I'll show you. This is the first message that I got from this buyer saying, you know what, my movies aren't here yet. What's going on? Now, it's a little bit of an in-depth message there, as you can see, going into, it's birthday present, and what am I going to do? And there's a lot of information I didn't need, but and I'll string for you as I'm talking. I'll just string our conversation up here and keep putting the photos up there to show you what was going on. But I'll explain it to you as well for those that are maybe listing and listening or whatever. Essentially, this guy writes me and says, you know what, my movies said they were going to be here on June 4th. They're not here yet. They are a birthday present. I'm in Michigan. Stuff shut down. Now I'm going to have to go buy a birthday present off the shelf. That's going to be hard. I think right there initially, that's laying the groundwork for what's coming ahead. Okay. Then I write back and say, you know what? Let me check. Let me see what's going on. And I checked the tracking information and I took a screenshot of the tracking information, said, you know what? You're right. It's not there yet. The last tracking information showed that it had left Pittsburgh and I think on a Friday or something. And then over the weekend, nothing. It said just in transit. So we didn't know where it was. It had been scanned in at the next place. So I let them know that. And I also put a screenshot on there to show that, I'm not just making this up. Look, here is the tracking information. We then got, they wrote me again, I think it was the next day, saying, hey, it's still not here. And what I told them was, you know what, you can contact your post office. They might be able to give you more information. Once I hand this thing off to the Postal Service, it's out of my hands. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. I drop it off on the day I'm supposed to drop it off. I pack it correctly. I put the right postage on it. I send it out. That's my job. And now I've done my job. I didn't lay it out there, but you know what I'm talking about. We do our job and we give it to the Postal Service and they finish the thing. And so I let them know, like, look, I have no control over it at this point. I can keep checking on it for you, but I have no control over it. You can contact your local post office because maybe they can give you more information. And they quickly wrote back and said, tracking down packages is not my responsibility. So you can see there's growing, like I can tell this is going to be an issue. Then I get the next message saying, hey, they finally arrived two weeks after I ordered them, which these were sent media mail. I don't tend to have problems with media mail, honestly. And so I use it, especially on the lower value stuff where I'm only making $5 or $6. I'm not pinching every penny, but I certainly don't want to spend 50 or 75 cents more if I don't have to send it first class. And media mail tends to do pretty well for me. And so I use that. In this case, maybe it would have made it better if I'd have gone first class. I don't know. I think it just got stuck in Michigan, to be honest with you. But they wrote back and said, hey, I got these. It's very, very late. And the phrasing they used was along the lines, and you see it over here, what are you going to do or what can you do to make me feel better about this? That translates in eBay to give me a partial refund and I'll go away. That's what they're saying, right? First off, this is a small dollar thing. There's not a lot of profit on this thing anyway, so it's not like I made a ton on this sale. I mean, it was a very low dollar sale. But secondly, I don't owe this person anything. I mean, yeah, I've said repeatedly, I'm sorry that it's late, but I can't help it. And so I let them know. I said, again, apologized for what had happened. Said, you know what, I think it just got caught up, and I'm glad it's there now. If you'd like a full refund, send them back. I will absolutely refund you. I knew they weren't going to do that. At least I was pretty sure. And I was pretty sure that they were then going to come back and leave me a negative feedback, which they did. And I took a shot of that on the screen so you can see it, saying that I was unsympathetic. It took me 2 weeks to get my thing. No mention that, the media mail should have taken about a week as it was, and then it went through a weekend, and then a couple days later it got it. No mention of that. No mention of the fact, of course, that I went ahead and issued or went through the process of tracking down a missing package on the Postal Service. I filled out the forms. I got an email from his post office saying they were looking into it. No mention of any of that, of course. It's just beware, this is a bad seller who doesn't care about you. Now, this came in the evening, so unfortunately this sat there overnight, and it was the top feedback. It sat there overnight into the next day. So what do you do at this point, right? What can you do? My feedback was at 99.9%. That's good, right? I mean, I could just let it sit and hope that people recognize that I'm a good seller. I could respond to it. You can respond to feedback. My opinion is if you respond to something, it just draws attention to it, right? So I don't respond to feedback, good, bad, or otherwise. Um, what I did was before, actually that night, as soon as it popped up, I didn't even wait till the morning. eBay for Business. You need to look them up on Facebook. Not even just for these problems, right? Just if you have any issues, I have had more luck with eBay for Business than I have trying to call them on the phone. I don't even know if the phone center is open right now, but it doesn't even matter. eBay for Business, based in the United States, they seem to be much more aligned with company policy. They seem to know what company policy is. Sometimes you talk to them on the phone, you talk to three different people, you get three different answers. eBay for Business has been much, much better for me. They're on Facebook. Just look them up on Facebook. Follow their page, and you can also send them on Messenger. You know, the lightning bolt. Click the lightning bolt. Send them a message. Typically, what they need, or what they always ask me, they ask for the email address of the account. They ask. Well, I tell them the store name, the email address on the account. I tell them my full name and my zip code. Those are the four things usually that they ask. So I just, now that I've talked with them a few times, I start the conversation with that. So they have the information that they need, that they can, the first thing I hear back from them is them answering my question or solving my problem. So I get on there, I tell them my name, my zip code, my email, my store name, and then I explain to them, here's what happened with this buyer. And I just said, and I would like it if you could please remove the feedback, because I know that the feedback wasn't deserved, because what they were griping about was that it took too long to get to them. Again, not my fault. I dropped it off when I was supposed to drop it off, as I agreed to. He agreed that I was going to drop it off on that day, and I was going to send it medium mail. When they make that purchase, they know that. There's nothing I can do if it doesn't make it there on time, if I fulfilled my part of the deal. So you can't get a ding for that. You certainly can't get negative feedback based on that. I knew that going in. But in my conversations with him, because eBay will go back, they can go back, and in this case, they needed to, because I asked them to, they will go back and they will look at the message history between myself and this buyer. And they will be able to see that I was professional, I was courteous, and I tried to help. I gave them what help I could. And so I explained the whole situation to them, said I'd appreciate if you could remove this feedback. And I got a message back that morning shortly after they opened. So this was sitting there. It was first thing, you know, the flashing button, you've got a message. They answered it and they dove into it right away in the morning. And that's been my experience. They get to it pretty quickly. And they wrote back, and I mean, I saved that for you as well. You can see the messages over here with eBay for Business. They said, you know what? Yeah, you obviously sent this on the next day when you were supposed to, and based on that, this feedback is invalid. I mean, they can't leave that. I'll take this off. It'll take effect within 24 hours. They always say that, but it's usually within minutes. And so then you can see that's what the feedback was. Minutes later, it was gone. So they did get in there and they took that off. And then I think important is to thank them for what they're doing. They're people on the other end of that computer as well. So I thanked them and said, look, I appreciate what you do. And I'm frustrated that this person's not happy, but there was nothing I could do. I tried the best I could to help them out. And they said, yeah, we appreciate you giving them options and for trying. Thanks. Have a nice day. Problem solved, right? I mean, it's frustrating, but they took that off, and I knew they would took it off. So that's what my situation was like. Now, you're not always going to get it off. I mean, this is not something where they're every time going to hit the button and say, yep, you're right. But in stuff like this, where you're following all the rules, you did everything you were supposed to do, they can trace back those steps. They can look at your messages. I think more often than not, despite everybody saying eBay doesn't care about you, eBay won't back you, eBay this, eBay that, in my experience, for the most part, they've been very helpful and they've been very fair. At some point, I'm probably going to have a video where I'm moaning about how they treated me poorly, just because the law of averages says that's going to happen, right? Um, but my experience with them has been very, very positive. And they recently removed another feedback where the customer, she wrote a glowing feedback and accidentally, instead of a positive, she hit negative. So it was a negative feedback with glowing words. And I had the same thing, contacted eBay for Business and said, hey, look, this customer was obviously very happy with her purchase. Read it. She just doesn't use eBay very much, and she clicked the wrong button. And they said, yep, you're right. And they didn't change it to a positive, which I wish they could have done or would have done. They just removed the feedback. So that's a bummer that they took that positive feedback off. I wish they would have been able to just change it. That's what I was actually asking them to do. But again, it put my feedback back at 100%, and that's what we wanted. So that's what I've got for you today in terms of what happens when you get bad feedback. I know we've done one of these videos a little bit back, but I think it's something worth revisiting. And I wanted to remind you tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Remember, it's our live show. It's the first Bald Live. We've got the guy that's responsible for the Bald, at least for the end push, Dominic, the primetime treasure hunter. He put the call out to get me to 1,000 subs. We were at 905. He put it on his Facebook page and said, hey, let's get him across the finish line. And it happened in like 2 hours. So he's going to be on the show. I'm really, really excited. The Facebook group that he runs has 18,000 plus subscribers to it. He's got many, many subscribers on his YouTube channel as well. I recommend his channel to anybody that's starting out. He's got so many playlists, so many things that you can learn. And he's going to be here. We're going to talk about the things that you screw up on eBay and on social media. So often that's a highlight reel, right? Well, let's be transparent. Let's talk about the times when we did something that wasn't right. We're not perfect. I'm certainly not perfect, and I know he's not either. We're also going to talk about YouTube. We're going to talk about the pitfalls of having a YouTube channel. It's not all bright and rosy all the time. I mean, there are drawbacks to having a YouTube channel. We're going to talk about that with him as well. I'm sure we'll touch on other stuff. It would be weird if we didn't talk about comics and Mountain Dew. So there's going to be a lot going on. I'm excited. Dominic's coming in. He's a fantastic guy. You're not going to want to miss it. Again, that's tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Mountain Man Treasure. Guys, thanks for coming in. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe down below. I think there's content here that you would like. We're working on getting up to our watch hours. We're getting there. We've still got like 500, 600 hours left we need to get. So we're getting there. We're going to get to that 4,000 soon. But if you want to look back at any of our videos, I'm not going to stop you. Thanks for stopping in, guys. I sure appreciate you, and I'll see you back here tonight.